to everybody who's present in person, and good morning to everybody watching online. Welcome to the Filmmakers Association's annual general meeting. Thank you for making the time once again. So we are going to just the basic overview by the chairperson with the chairperson's annual report from the board side, and then we will also proceed to everybody's portfolio. Everybody will be giving us a report on the progress and some of the feedback or some of the achievements or perhaps even some of the challenges that we have had within the various portfolios. And so we don't want to keep this, too long, considering the people or the number of people that are in the room. But we will also open up sort of suggestions from the members as well and questions as well. As you all know, the tenure for our term is only 1 year. So obviously that leaves room for discussion. And I know at the previous special general meeting, we already alluded to the possibility of potentially amending the current constitution. And the tenure was one of the points that we wanted to change within the constitution, to change the term from 1 to 3 years, because there is not enough time. 1 year is basically just not enough time to do all the things that we wanted to do. And I think not just for our board, but for any board, in future, we've realized that it's quite a short period of time. And there are also other points we wanted to amend within the constitution, but we'll highlight those a little bit later as well. And then, so we'll leave it to you guys as well to also guide us in terms of how do we go about, today? Do we do another voting? Do we just continue? So I think we don't want it to be sort of like a conversation where we are just speaking to you. We want it to be an engaging conversation. Even online, please feel free to send your opinions and your comments and your concerns, and then we can continue engaging on those. So without wasting any more time, Mr. Chair, are you winning?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I will hand over the floor then to Mr. Byron. And yes, maybe before we officially start, would like to give the floor to our sponsor for the day, who's welcomed us with open arms at the first ask. It was an immediate yes, and we're very thankful. We're very honored to be here, and we're very keen on seeing what how a fan and its members can make use of the venue or any other sort of possibilities within FNCC in collaboration with fan and its members. But if you could perhaps just say 1 or 2 words and maybe also welcome us. Yes, please.
Hello, good morning everyone here at the FNCC Cinema, and hello to everyone also who is online. The FNCC, the Franco-Namibian Cultural Center, is very happy to welcome you here. My name is Martin Bayer. I'm the current manager of the place. And as maybe many of you know, we have a small cinema here where the meeting takes place today, 55 seats. And the FNCC is looking forward very much to collaborate with FAN, with the Film Association Namibia, to promote Namibian film. We have French film projections here in the cinema 2 or 3 times per month, but personally I find that is not enough, and maybe your association would like to have such a place or would like to use such a place to promote your own films, to have panel discussions, projections, and FNCC would be very happy to partner up with you, so less sponsor, more in a partner relationship to promote film in general and French film in particular and Namibian film as well. So I wish you good luck during your meeting today, the General Assembly, and I look forward to meet you very soon again and to do joint projects here at the FNCC. Good luck and have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Martin. Appreciate it so much. All right. Mr. Byron, ready to go? Oh, there we go. It's now showing. Okay, for the ones that are joining online, we are going to switch off the lights at some point so that you can have some visibility of the screen. I'm just looking now from this perspective, if we are perhaps not in the way. Maybe... Man, should we move to the side? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. Yeah, what a watershed moment for us as the Filmmakers Association. Nice to see the familiar faces here, and hi to everybody online as well. So yes, as part of the annual general meetings standard agenda points, there should be a report, an annual report by the chairperson. And this is what I will be presenting to you guys now. Yellow, if you could scroll up. Okay. So on the 7th of June, as you can recall, last year we had our AGM on the 25th of May. We're about a week after that now. And that really started a very interesting period for the association, representing a transformative chapter in the journey of the Filmmakers Association of Namibia. This year has marked a powerful turning point, not merely a moment of reflection, but one of redefinition. Emerging from a period of organizational dormancy, FAN has rapidly reconstituted its governance structures, re-established financial accountability, and expanded its national footprint. In doing so, we have laid a durable foundation for long-term relevance and impact. These internal advances were not ends in themselves, but the prerequisites for FAN to take up its rightful place in the broader national discourse, shaping Namibia's creative and cultural future. More than ever, FAN has stepped into the public policy space, not only as a stakeholder, but as a credible voice for Namibia's audiovisual sector. From active contributions to NDP6 planning processes and legal reform dialogues, to coordinating flagship programs and regional development initiatives, FAN has positioned itself as both an advocate and an architect. We are building the systems, networks, and programs needed to ensure that film and content creation are seen not merely as artistic expression, but as an economic driver and instruments of national an instrument of national identity. This report captures this evolution and offers a clear view of the road ahead. Okay, so just a bit of background. Let's lay the foundation here, if you would allow me. According to the Namibia Film Commission Act 6 of 2000, film means any sequence of visual or digital images recorded on material of any description and includes audiovisual productions such as cinematographic film, video, television, and interactive media, but does not include any production being a report on news or current affairs. So there's a clear distinction there. So basically, almost anything that moves outside of news and current affairs should technically fall under our ambit. This definition, once rooted in traditional celluloid-based cinema, now necessarily extends to the expansive and evolving landscape of digital content creation. Today, the term encompasses a wide array of formats and platforms, ranging from television and documentaries to online videos, streaming series, branded content, animation, virtual production, and emerging immersive technologies such as augmented reality and virtual reality. As such, FAN's mandate has evolved in step with the industry it serves, representing not only classical filmmakers, but also the growing community of modern audiovisual creators, YouTubers, digital storytellers, post-production artists, live streamers, and multimedia producers. This inclusive interpretation recognizes the fluidity and contemporary content creation, and positions FAN as the unified voice of all those who contribute to Namibia's moving image economy. Having a look back at the year in review, the Filmmakers Association attained the following notable milestones. I'll just give these in broad summary and then focus on a few of the highlights. The FAN board was revived and formalized with designated roles across core operational areas. A functional banking account was reinstated, and financial systems have begun to transition toward greater transparency and accountability. Key administrative issues from previous cycles were resolved, including finalizing FAN's BIPA registration and internal records. FAN secured representation on the Namibia Film Commission NFC board, with a FAN member serving as chairperson, an important platform for policy influence and sector advocacy. FAN contributed to the national creative sector policy reform processes, including the revision of the legal frameworks, tax regimes, and the development of comprehensive programs for inclusion in NDP 6. The industry position paper and its development, I think that was one of the big ones for the year. We initiated that from FAN side, initiated the formulation of a comprehensive data-driven industry position paper to guide national policy and investment strategies for Namibia's film sector, now in its second draft form with ongoing stakeholder consultations. We want to keep this an ongoing process, as we previously mentioned. NIPDB, we've served and contributed to the Productivity Task Force on Culture and the Creative Industry, the policy subcommittee in that regard. FAN is actively engaged with the NIPDB as part of the broader policy reform efforts to position the film and creative industries as viable sectors for investment and economic growth. As a member of the Film and Video Task Force, FAN contributed to what is it? Just move the cursor there, please. There, go up. Thanks, yeah. Okay, in terms of the, okay, thank you. As a member of the Film and Video Task Force, FAN contributed to consultations aimed at designing a responsive tax incentive framework for local and international productions. These engagements emphasized the need for production rebates, streamlined permitting processes, and the recognition of audiovisual content as a formal economic sector. FAN continues to advocate for regulatory clarity, public-private partnerships, and targeted investment instruments that will unlock financing and infrastructure development for Namibian filmmakers. This collaboration marks a strategic step towards making Namibia more competitive as a production destination while creating tangible benefits for local creators. So in terms of our policy pursuits last year, another big one was our contributions to the National Development Plan. I give you a bit of a breakdown in terms of the different programs here, but just to give you an overview, FAN played a pivotal role in shaping the cultural and creative industries agenda within Namibia's 6th National Development Plan, NDP 6. As an active member of the NDP 6 Arts and Creative Industries Focal Group, FAN ensured that the priorities of the audiovisual sector were reflected in national policy planning. Key contributions included advocating for infrastructure development across all 14 regions, standardized working conditions, public investment in local content, and legal frameworks to enhance intellectual property protection and market access. FAN also supported the formulation of measurable targets, such as an such as increasing the sector's GDP contribution to about 3%. I speak under correction there, it could fluctuate. It was anywhere from 1 to 2%. And employment share to approximately 2% by 2030, helping to align national development goals with a realistic with the realities and aspirations of the Namibia's filmmakers and content creators. This engagement reinforces FAN's position as a strategic policy partner in building sustainable, inclusive, and economically vibrant an economically vibrant film industry. So some of the programs included, that we forwarded to be included in NDP 6, was, for instance, such as sub-program 1, which fall under broader programs, which is the film development and promotion program, to introduce policy incentives and position Namibia as a filming destination, establish a local film and creative city, and increase local production grants. That's something that we inherited from the powers that be, but it's there, it keeps on popping up. Launch a national film festival and strengthen public-private partnerships. But whereas the first one directly speaks to film, each one of the other programs also speak to us as part of the creative industries. So like the National Creative Talent and Capacity Development aspect, this speaks to training, mentorship, bursaries for creatives. And as part of the creative sector, this should include then filmmakers as well. Intellectual property rights and creative goods and services market access, amend the Copyright Act and develop local content monetization policies, improve local content visibility and export readiness, establish cross-border treaties and update the Creative Industries Guide. Sub-program 4, Information, Research and Marketing Unit. We want to keep an eye on the industry so we can actually see the impact that the different sectors within what the creative industries make in terms of job creation and economic impact. Arts and Creative Industry Accelerator Program. So there's talk of establishing creative hubs around the country in all 14 regions, expand grants, mobility funding, and startup support for MSMEs, attract investment, and host major arts festivals and expos. So those were the big, I think, achievements for us as a board in the past year, just to give you a bird's eye view in terms of what we have done. But these do have some implications for us in general. So let me talk through these next few points rather briefly, if you please. So the first one, I call it 50 meters and more. Creative industries allocation and the place of film within that. By now, most of us in the industry are aware of the 50 million allocated to the creative industries in this particular financial year. It's been announced on various platforms in Parliament as well. A milestone we warmly welcome. We commend the Namibian government's leadership for this visionary investment, which signals a long overdue recognition of the sector's potential to contribute meaningfully to economic diversification, employment, and cultural expression. However, this development carries both opportunity and caution. The term creative industries broadly refers to a diverse range of activities rooted in the generation and commercialization of knowledge, culture, and creativity. According to John Hawkins, this includes film, but also spans design, music, craft, performing arts, architecture, advertising, games, and more. It includes radio and television. It includes research and development as well, amongst others. Within such an expansive classification, there's a real risk that film, already historically underfunded, could be diluted or entirely overlooked when resources are dispersed, especially due to the fragmented budget votes in administrative slots. What I'm referring to here is the very simple fact that the money has been allocated under my sector, under their particular vote. We, or the Film Commission, falls under a totally different ministerial vote or budget vote. to start off with. But as I would have to re-emphasize here, yet FAM firmly believes in cross-sectional and cross-ministerial collaboration to help us attain national development goals. Film as a multidisciplinary platform does not, make a bit bigger that, yeah? Oops, does not exist in isolation. It's a convergence. It's a convergence point for all creative disciplines, from costume designers to set carpenters, musicians to visual artists, storytellers to digital innovators. The film industry generates downstream value and market access across the entire creative economy. That's something that we cannot deny. For this reason, we advocate for the strategic prioritization of film as an economic multiplier within the broader creative industries framework. Something that we cannot overlook as a consequence of all these interactions is that there's still reasonable fragmentation within the industry. Despite increased visibility and sectoral recognition, fragmentation remains a major challenge in the film and video ecosystem. Disconnected conversation, misaligned agendas, and institutional overlappings continue to dilute our collective impact. Throughout 2025, FAN has consistently championed a unified call to action. Invest in the film and video economy. We are not simply a basket case who is pushing passion. But we are a credible data-backed contributor to Namibia's GDP and job creation targets, particularly for youth and women. Our work speaks for itself. Through the development of the industry position paper and the rollout programs like the Namibian Creative Content Program, NCCP, and the Namibia Film Program, FAN has demonstrated that film is not only culturally vital, but economically viable. These initiatives provide structured frameworks for content creation, skills development, regional participation, and enterprise growth. We especially applaud the work of organizations like SWIFT for their leadership in challenging outdated narratives and ensuring that the inclusivity and gender equity remain central to our sector's transformation. SWIFT, the NFC, and all these people have been very close partners with us in the last year, in the last few months. And once again, we commend them for the wonderful work that they are doing there. If one theme has defined FAN's work this year, it is the deliberate choice to dictate the narrative. We have made it a mission to engage proactively in every available forum where the future of Namibia's creative economy is being shaped. From Film Week and the NP6 consultation process to policy dialogues with PDB, NPC, MICT, and other key partners, FAN has ensured that the film and video sector remains on the national agenda. We continue to raise the core issues: access to funding, access to markets, capacity building, and critically the right to tell our own stories. These are not abstract policy ideals, but tangible developmental imperatives. Whether in Windhoek, Swakopmund, or Shakati, or Katima Mulilo, Namibian voices deserve to be heard in our languages, through our lenses, and on our terms. As we also strive to elevate our global profile, we must remain grounded in the authenticity of our own local narratives. Okay, to round it up now, we would be remiss not to celebrate the filmmakers and creators who continue to raise Namibia's flag on the international stages, proving time and again that we are capable of producing world-class intellectual property. We thank our partners also, NBC, MultiChoice Namibia, One Africa TV, Ster-Kinekor, the Ministry of Information and MICT, MISEC, the Namibian Film Commission, and the Directorate of Arts for their ongoing collaboration. A special salute goes out to the next generation of content creators, YouTubers, TikTokers, and AI storytellers. We see you. You are not only part of this industry, you are leading its future. And the future is bright. And finally, on a personal note, I have to commend the FAN board for 24-25. I think ultimately our biggest achievement is that we as a board has not disintegrated under the severe pressures and all the myriad of us, as one board member would often name it, the severe diseases that has beset FAN in the past. We have not succumbed to that. We've made it for a full term, intact as a board, and we've actually, I believe, delivered. That concludes my official presentation in terms of our annual report. I would like now to hand over the floor to our members, starting with the Vice Chairperson, just to give you a brief account on their particular portfolios. Thank you.
Do we have time for questions before we move on, or are we going to finish?
I suggest that we do the questions after you guys gave you a brief summaries.
All right, so I won't be projecting any document because Chairperson essentially has said everything that needed to be said in terms of sort of our achievements. So just to sort of, you know, make it a little bit less structured and formal. So we are trying by all means to be in certain rooms, right, where we can sort of like give our inputs in terms of, you know, for example, like NDP6. NDP6 is a huge platform because it's the only way that basically government can recognize the industry's goals and plans. So in that way, they can also then create certain budgets, right, for that specific sector. So if government doesn't know what your plans are as an industry, they can't sort of like align certain budgets to it. So that's why it's important for us to be in communication, not just with NFC, but with the Ministry of Arts, for example, or the MICT. And so that was the main reason why we had to make sure that we give our inputs from the film perspective as to what does a thriving industry look like? What kind of programs can we introduce? Does it require regional content? Does it require capacity building? Does it require regionalization in terms of like how do we include people in certain regions? So I know now in the report that there was, for example, conversation around having 14 hubs around the 14 regions, but obviously we also need to be realistic, right? So these conversations are ongoing. Does it really make sense to have a hub, a creative hub in every region in terms of the 14 regions? So the conversations are continuing in terms of like, okay, do we first look at sort of like 4 hubs, you know, as in north, east, west, or south? Maybe is that a starting point? And what do these hubs look like? Is it just a creative hubs? Is it like, is it just a film hub, or is it a creative hub that allows the arts to sort of like meet at a central place where you can not only learn, but you can, you know, showcase films, you can showcase your arts, you can showcase projects within the region at that point in time. So I think that's the thinking around the hubs. We are also trying to figure out how do we create national programs in terms of like a local TV series. How do we revive that again? How do we, where does NBC fit? How can they assist us? And how can, you know, government support us, you know, with those programs that we want to see happening. So all of these are ongoing efforts. I think the seeds have been planted, and we are now just following up in terms of like, okay, where's the money coming from? You know, because now, to be honest, there is still that question. Where is film sitting? Are we under MICT? Are we under Ministry of Arts and Education? Where exactly do we fall under? NFC is there to support us, but what does that look like? So I think there's a lot of sort of conversations, there's a lot of table meetings that need to happen between FAN, between NFC, between MICT, and as well as Ministry of Arts and Education, you know, because there's sort of like budgets that need to come from different areas, and we need to sort of like just centralize those and figure out how do we get this money or this financial support to carry out some of these programs in partnership, obviously, with NFC and Arts, Ministry of Arts as well. So it's ongoing conversations, it's ongoing efforts, and but in terms of where we are as a board, I think we've been trying to find our feet. We've been trying to work together the best way that we can, and obviously also have a common vision. And I think, you know, with more time, we can, you know, start realizing more opportunities. We can start establishing certain relationships, because everything requires a conversation. Everything requires setting up a meeting with somebody, going to them to discuss, okay, how do we navigate this? How do we work together? How do we partner up? You know, even a conversation, for example, with FNCC. Those are all sort of like relationships that we are trying to establish, and hopefully that will allow us to create other opportunities, you know, like a screening night, or partnerships that allow us to train our filmmakers, you know, because I think capacity building is very important. I think, you know, personally for me, in my portfolio, that's something that I've been hammering on, you know, even at NDP 6, you know, I said that, listen, before we even look at a lot of, you know, these programs that require infrastructure, that require producing or production, I think that, you know, capacity building is a big one. So that's something that I'm pushing. And I think Esther will also highlight in terms of, you know, how far they are in terms of, you know, creating the treaties with South Africa, and how far maybe that is, because, you know, we'd like to leverage off of our relationship with those treaties and see where can we find exchange programs that allow people to go to South Africa and also South Africans to come here and you know, have a skills transfer opportunity. So, and the same is what we want to do when we, you know, potentially travel to other countries, but it also doesn't always require traveling. Sometimes it's just really an introduction online. But yeah, so these are some of, you know, sort of like the hopes and the dreams that I personally have within my portfolio. I'm hoping that, you know, we can create like a lot of, or a few exchange programs within the next year. Not just with South Africa, but, you know, maybe Germany or maybe the States, you don't know. So those are some of my ambitions within my portfolio, and that's what I would like to continue working on. There are some challenges, but I think that you know, the dream is bigger than the challenge. I think, you know, the humps along the way, they will always come. There will be friction here and there, but I think if there's one request from my end, I think is the engagement. I feel like there's a lot of communication from FAN, but there's not enough feedback from the members. So we don't know, for example, what your concerns are, you know. I mean, we meet once or twice a year, but I don't know, I don't hear from a lot of you in terms of, you know, oh, we've seen this, you know, kudos to that. Or we see this is not happening, you know, maybe you try and work on this. Or guys, I've got this relationship with this person, you know, maybe reach out to them, you know, and, you know, because they could assist us with either capacity building or screening of films. So just that engagement is missing for us. And I think that it would help us to sort of like, you know, let us know, oh, we're moving in the right direction, or we're not doing enough, you know. So if I can just kindly please ask the members, please do engage with us. I mean, I think WhatsApp has also sort of like created room, you know, for just that informal communication to happen, even frequently, and anybody can just log in whenever they feel like logging in, you know, to see what's happening. I mean, the other group, the filmmakers for FAN, I think they're probably more active than the members group, right? But maybe also you have your reasons, and that should also be understandable. But I think that's it from my end. I will now hand over the floor to Esther. And yeah, she will just update us on her portfolio and as well as on the NFC board as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to sit down. I hope that's okay with everyone in the room. And again, I'm going to do my best not to take too much time. I know we started late. Thank you so much for that, Shuna. And just to echo on your sentiments, you know, we need to be having a two-way conversation. As much as, yes, we've been appointed as the board, like we are really just the representatives. We are really just your voices. And I think we've opened up that door. We keep saying, you know, reach out to us, even if it's not on the on the WhatsApp group, you know, invite us out for coffee and tell us what we're doing wrong and shout at us and, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, let's remain a family and let's continue to just hold each other accountable to what we say we're going to do and to what we're supposed to deliver on as a board. Specifically for me as the chairperson of the NFC board, I definitely call on the alumni of other FAN NFC board, previous board members to also, you know, reach out to me, call me out and say, hey, you know, we tried this before and we see that you're doing that same mistake again, or, you know, whatever it is. I think I definitely welcome that. As much as I am the new, young, fresh face that's in the seat, I do believe in continuity. I do believe in looking backwards to the ones that came before us to also just give their advice and their input and to support me, obviously, in my journey. I can say that my first year now, we were appointed in December. And up until now, it's really been a lot of like fact-finding missions and learning the system, understanding how things work within the NFC, understanding the obstacles, because sometimes you come in with fire and you have all of these great new ideas and things you want to do, but you don't really understand the obstacles or the bureaucracy or really just how things work. So I think I've really come in with a more humble attitude of saying, okay, I want to learn, I want to open myself up to advice and feedback. So that's really what it's been. And then with the elections that have happened, it's very much slowed down a lot of the work of the NFC, kind of waiting, you know, for Madam President to, you know, step in and for things to officially shift. So that's definitely created a lot of obstacles for us, also as the Commission, to implement or even to come up with strategies moving forward. So we definitely had to hold back a lot before we moved forward. We actually only officially finalized our strategic plan last month, which we should be making available to the industry soon once we've had it the editing process has been completed and it's been verified. I know that will be communicated to the members, to the industry in due time. So in the meantime, I'm just going to talk a little bit about just some of the things that have happened. Since Ronald and myself, I'm here not only speaking as the chairperson of the NFC, but really representing fans' representation on the board. So the report that I'm currently sharing is one that was compiled by my associate, Ronald, who couldn't be here as he's on production at the moment, but he's definitely here with us in spirit. So one of the first things that we felt was really a key milestone or something big was that the foreign facilitators had a meeting with the Deputy Minister of Information Technology, Information Communication Technology, Honorable Modestus Mutse. That's before we had the shift, and they basically just addressed some of the challenges that the facilitators were having during, or like with regards to getting permits, kind of looking at some of the barriers around the MEFT, the permitting, the processing time with the permits. That is something that has come up a lot, that it takes very long to get our permits processed, and a lot of the time these international producers hit you up and it's like, we've got 1 week, can we make this happen? And half the time it's like, we can try, but there's just so many obstacles, specifically even with getting drone permits. So that was the first meeting that was initiated by the foreign facilitators, which really resulted in at least like one being recognized and the dialogue being opened. But again, with the reshuffling of the ministries and things changing again, we've kind of had to go back to square one. So at this time, as the Commission, we've requested a meeting with the MEFT as well as the NCAA, thank you, to discuss, how can we make this more cohesive for facilitators. Also on the point of facilitation, as the NFC, we're also reviewing some of the conditions around becoming a facilitator. We're looking at some of the obstacles that people have faced with regards to, signing up as facilitators. I know that one of the biggest complaints, for example, that had come up was that part of becoming a facilitator is that you need to be sort of mentored by an existing facilitator, and some people have reported that they've had a challenge with partnering with existing facilitators, which also of course is understandable because it is a very small community and everyone's kind of trying to get the money. But yeah, so we're trying to look at do we need to adjust these barriers, or what do we need to do to kind of really create more of that community within the industry, and not say it's not just a Shark Tank and whoever gets the money first, but kind of looking at it as we are all here to help each other and to grow the industry, seeing it as a whole and not just as an individual. Yes, moving on. In December last year, we also had Florence, the Executive Secretary of the NFC, traveled to Johannesburg, where she had a meeting with the known associates with regards to their fund. So the NFC will most likely be involved with the vetting and the onward submission of projects to the fund and ensure the credibility and the quality of submissions. We could also consider becoming an equity partner in projects to increase our revenue streams. So as you might know, that the NFC right now, or something that I would say we as a board inherited, was the autonomy of the NFC. And for those of you that might not know, currently NFC is under a division of the Ministry of Information, Communication Technology, and what that means is that we are essentially a child of this ministry. Everything we do, all of our needs, everything comes through the ministry, which also means that things such as restructuring our staff, like capacity, also has to go through the ministry. If we become autonomous, however, it gives us as the NFC more room to make decisions on our own without necessarily going through the ministry. It means that things could move faster, processes go faster, because as it stands now, and this is again part of the learning curve, you get into the NFC and you're excited and you're like, yes, so let's get the ball rolling, let's do this, let's do that, and then you submit your proposals and things, and then it's like, oh no, that's going to take another 4 months because we first have to wait to call an official board meeting, and then the board must sit, and then we must deliberate, and then Ronald and myself must sit there and convince these ministerial fund a few high quality projects, or do we fund many, web series, or, like shorter form content? And that's really been a big debate, really at board level as well, because I think specifically the ministerial heads kind of see it as like we need to create employment. The film industry is going to solve this problem of unemployment in the country, and it's going to make us look good if we are able to find more people, and then instead of looking at high quality projects, but then we bring it back around and we say, okay, we're going to fund hundreds of small projects, and then what? You know, they have no distribution plans, there's no real opportunities to get these projects out there. So yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge on that front, and we have come to a conclusion more or less on what the strategy is going to be around how the NFC plans to do our call-outs this year, and I know that that will be announced soon. And I don't really want to go into too much detail about what that's going to look like until it's officially been announced by the NFC, so I hope that you understand me not saying it live on YouTube, but if you invite me out for coffee, maybe I will. I can whisper in your ear a little bit about what that's going to look like. Oh, and so one of the first things that we did was, as a board, we hosted a board retreat, and my feeling around that was, you know what, I want to do a board retreat, but was really because, for those that don't know, the NFC board is comprised of 5 members. So we have 2 industry representatives, which is myself and Ronald. For those that are new, we are the FAD members that were voted into this position. And then the 3 are ministerial heads, one from the Ministry of Environment, another one from the Ministry of Immigration, and then the last one is from MICT. So we all sit on the board together. These people have no real context or understanding of the film industry and what those challenges are. So I felt, okay, the best thing to do is we're gonna host a meeting and invite industry stakeholders to come and kind of present to the board. So we hosted that in Swakop. Was on the 25th of January, where we invited FAN, we invited Swift, Irongo filmmakers. I think we had One Africa there, we had MultiChoice there, we had NBC there, and we all sat around and people kind of presented, and we, you know, it was kind of trying to help the board understand what is the state of the industry, one. 2, for us to be able to fully categorize the different stakeholders that we actually have. So we ended up looking at it and saying, okay, we've got the facilitators, we've got the filmmakers, the local producers, we've got the practitioners, or the I would say like the freelancers, so the ones that would maybe work on international productions and all of that. And then even within the filmmakers category, for example, we had to look at it and say, okay, we've got first-time filmmakers, we've got the students, people that are just really starting out in the industry, and then we've got the veterans, people that have made feature films, that have been able to get distribution deals, that have been able to travel. So very carefully kind of helping us as a board figure out who are we serving, and not kind of putting everyone under one umbrella, because oftentimes that always you end up losing people within that. And I thought it was a really healthy discussion that came from that, outside of the fact that the board was educated on who is in the industry and what's going on. Obed pointed out that it was the first time in how many years that the industry came? Yeah, so 2006 was the last time that we had all the different industry players in one room, not just outside of just FAN. I mean, like we said, we had MultiChoice there, we had One Africa there, we had NBC there. These are people that don't necessarily get into the same rooms together, at least not with one common goal. So that, sorry? 2010? Yeah. Yeah, so So yeah, that really got me personally excited because it was like, okay, maybe I am, maybe we are doing something right as a board. So that was exciting. Then we had the Berlinale that came last, when was that? In January this year, which Ronald attended along with Madam Flo, and it was really a benchmarking exercise to kind of give Commissioner James an understanding of the international landscape and what the European film market looks like and how we can get involved. Once we've established the new tax incentives and the new policies, we believe that we would like to launch at the EFM. Hopefully within the last year of our tenure, we can go and announce that. So for us, what we are seeing is that with regards to markets and international film festivals, we believe that once we have our new policies, tax incentives and frameworks in place, we are in a better position to attend these markets because we're not going there as beggars, we're going there as people that have something to offer. So that was really some of the things that concluded from that. He had meetings with the World Cinema Fund. Again, we're looking for more opportunities for Namibians to be able to get money for their films outside of just the NFC. Welcome, hello. He also had a meeting with let me just move on. We also had a notable meeting with Leon Ford. He's the CEO of Allsburg SPI, and essentially what they do is they support film commissions around the world and different film industries and help them kind of collect data and do like feasibility studies to see how our tax incentives and policies could potentially benefit our country in the long run. So we got into a meeting with them, and I wish Ronald was here now because he could really better elaborate on where we stand with regards to whether or not we're going to move forward with working with them or not. So yeah, sorry, I don't want to waste too much time. So we're also, as NFC, looking at different stakeholder partnerships. We've signed an MOU now with the NAST, Animation Skills Accelerator Program, to support the 2D animation course. We're also funding some students to go and complete this course. Again, it's a certificate. So there's, I think, about 3-4 courses. We've got script writing for children's television. We've got a script writing course. We've got foundations of filmmaking course, as well as a 2D animation course that's going to be running. So I believe that the registration is and applications are still open. So for anyone that is interested, and I know that there are different organizations, and I'm really not sure. I'd be mistaken if I mentioned them, that are also offering scholarships and bursaries. So even if you apply and you don't have the money, for example, to register, I would say just go ahead and apply. I believe that the names are being added to a list as the program itself is also going around looking for scholarships for students. So we're trying to get as many people educated and into this program. Yeah, I was invited to speak at the MultiChoice Talent Factory 10-year celebratory anniversary, and it was really cool and exciting because I got to represent Namibia really as the only other student from the MultiChoice Talent Factory that was invited to speak and attend this festival, so that was exciting. I believe that it really, because I also got to speak at the JBX. I commented and I said that there were 5 people in the audience, but I'm grateful for the chance to have practiced my public speaking. We've also had meetings with the Canadian Embassy. They're really excited to partner with us. I think we, at Durban, the Durban Film Market this year, one of the commissioners will be represented there, and we'll continue the conversation. They're looking into exchange programs with Canada, so we're trying to see how can we get our local institutions to also partner with Canada and see how we can get students in this exchange program. Yeah, there's the NBC Drama School MOU that we're also discussing. We're looking at how we can get the database of the students that complete that work and have them ready for to be assigned to local film sets, because part of the requirements, I think, that we're looking forward to is for international films to have interns on their sets. So we're looking at kind of leveraging off of the NBC Drama School's database of students to see if we can get them onto these sets to kind of continue this upskilling process. But yeah, I think finally the biggest thing for me right now is I think as we're going to see, as each of us share, you're going to see our hearts kind of lie in these different areas. And one of the things that's come up for me a lot is the fact that, one, we don't have enough verified data about what is really going on in the industry. I had a meeting with Africa Development Bank, and they had all of these questions, and I was like, the data is not really verified. We can guess more or less what it looks like, but that's definitely something that we're lacking as an industry, but not only as an industry, because they commented and said that other people had the same challenges, that we just don't have the data. And I believe that a lot of that also comes from the fact that our industry isn't formalized. And I think right now there's a brainstorming process around how can we incentivize people to register their companies, their production companies, to even for local filmmakers to go to the NFC and say, hey, register that, hey, I've got a film shoot that's happening, because this helps us collect the data and know what is happening on the ground. Are people working? Is the industry really as thriving as we claim it is? So yes, formalization of the industry, getting people to be, to be up to date with their good standing, and really so that we can have a little bit more respect also as an industry, that we're not just artists, but we're also, respectable business people, and that are operating within the laws of Namibia. So yeah, that was a mouthful. It was a lot, and I hope you've written down any questions and things that you have for me. If it's something that you want to discuss afterwards, offline, I'm also happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that insightful report. So without wasting any more time, we want to proceed with our financial report from Mr. Ina, just to give you an overview of where the money has been going. Always a sensitive topic, but transparency is key.
Do I also sit? Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. Hi. All right, cool. Awesome. Are we projecting? No? No, okay. Or do I throw this in the group? Tell us a joke. I don't have any, unfortunately. Okay, I'll try and be quick with mine. When we started, we sort of had to figure ourselves out and figure out things worked. Then we're told there's an FNB account and there might be money in it to be able to do stuff. So we went to FNB. Then we had to get rid of the previous fan people who were put on the FNB account and didn't know they were on the FNB account or some weird thing like that. So Shuna and myself were put as the signatories on the account, or like we authorize payments, so it's 2 people. We have Byron and Armas, our secretary, who basically decide what needs to be paid for. For larger amounts, they fill in what is that document that we made? It's a document they fill expressing that this is what needs to be paid for. When it goes over a certain amount, they sign on it, and then Shuna either loads the payment and I authorize, or I load the payment, she authorizes. So in the account, we had found that there was 149,100 Namibian dollars and 3 cents. And there was more. It seems like this was an accumulation of almost 2 years worth, I think, 2 years worth. And the previous boards just didn't know, I guess they didn't know they had the money, so they weren't. Yeah, so they weren't using it. So we had a little bit more in there. So I can just talk through, sorry, give me a second. We are here. All right, so I'll just talk through some of the different things that the funds went to. It's pretty straightforward there, like bank charges, what that came to. The fan admin, at some point, we spoke about the fact that we didn't have an office or a receptionist or someone to help with admin stuff, and we have our own lives, but we do this as well. But you need someone like a central point. And that's when, I believe in the group, we put a call out for someone to be the fan admin. And that's when we got Ialo. And we make that payment monthly. That's what that is there. Then we also have, we give money for airtime for the fan phone, for her to be able to make calls and send emails and such. Then transport, what you see transport on there is we have meetings as a board. And some of us, I think 2 of us come, one comes from Osona, one comes from, is that? 2, oh, it's Osona now, both Osona. Oh, okay. It used to be Omea or something. It's always been Osona. Okay. All right, so we have 2 coming from Osona, and then the rest of us from around Windhoek. But initially, I think we paid for ourselves, and we're like, wait, guys, this is fuel. It's the least we can do. So that pays for, that amount there is how much we've spent so far on our meetings, transport for our meetings, the entire, I guess, since June last year. Then that's the amount of money. SGM and AGMs is the amount, sorry, that should be SGM, AGMs, and mixer. The amount of money that has been spent on the mixers we've had, the SGMs, the AGMs, that's live streaming, that's the photos, that's all of that. The venues we had to pay for. I think we had meals at one of them or something. Yeah, which one? The first one, yes. Then at some point, one of the things we were pursuing, I think it was mentioned or covered by Mr. Biden, the chair, was the position paper. Basically just creating this paper that allows us to ascertain where the industry is, and basically do something like a SWOT analysis for the industry. And we had a researcher that we hired after looking at a couple of quotations. The best quotation was like $1 million Namibian or something. We don't have that kind of money. So we got a guy who was, you said? Yeah, we still owe him. Yeah, that's another conversation. But yeah, we still owe him, but that's the deposit for the position paper. And I believe we shared that, right? Yes, we did. We shared the position paper. And that's the contribution made to Film Week. But just keeping in mind that at the same time, with the money we had in the kitty, every now and then Film Commission would give money for individual things, like the Film Week. They gave money for that, and you can already see it's sort of like offset there. Then refunds. At some point, before we even had the account, we would have to, from our own pockets, to sort of make things happen. And eventually that's the refund there, and then the Philanda contribution. There's other stuff in there, but this is like what I thought is probably pertinent right now. And you have membership fees, total of what it came to. And at the very bottom, I've put like a bank statement if anybody wants to like check out the bank statement and know where everything went. Next, I'll just talk about, all right, NFC was supposed to give us funding because the money we were using, like I said, came from previous fan boards, tenures. So NFC was supposed to give us funding, but with like what's happening in the country and like ministry still being figured out, we've received nothing as of yet. So again, we are like using our resources to sort of like, yeah, to offset, like to keep the wheels turning in the meantime with the hopes that once they've paid, maybe we can refund ourselves for that. At some point, we're like, all right, this is too much now. Let's start searching for money. So we approached UNESCO, and it seems like what we do is in line with what they fund. But the way their funding works is it works on a grant system, and the grant needs to be focused. So it's not like, thank you. So it's not like, hey, UNESCO, could we have money? We need to pay salaries and like do stuff and you forgot to mention meet the gatekeepers. No, yeah. Sorry, that was Esther's initiative. Meet the Gatekeeper, something that we do where she has a meeting and has all fan members there, and a gatekeeper from the industry basically shares information. Yeah, a gatekeeper most. After speaking with UNESCO, we found out they introduced us to some of their grants, but they're very tailored. So the grant, the one that we saw, would like target either the position paper or like some particular policy you intend on changing. So they don't give you money to be able to run things. And as we were pursuing that, I was hoping that I'll be able to sit here today and say, guys, we submitted and we're waiting to get feedback now. But good God, it's an intense process that requires someone in the development space to sit there and like put like insane work plans. So essentially what I'm getting at is you kind of need money to be able to get money. So you need someone that you can be like, hey, all right, we're gonna pay you to like sort of put this thing together to be able to submit it, to actually be able to say, to be in the running to get funding. So unfortunately that didn't happen, but there are a few more grants we are gonna pursue, but it would be nice to have funding or something from NFC that allows us to have an admin in the office or get someone to help us with things like this. Let's see here. Solutions. Oops, sorry. But yeah, that's sort of my thing in a nutshell. I can give this, or I'll make this available to the members to have a look at. Yeah, that's what I've been doing as treasurer. So I guess questions later or something. As treasurer, yeah. Oh, you treasure, okay, all right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goro. We've got 15 minutes to 12. Okay. Angela, do you want to just touch on the membership, maybe real quick, and then we'll open up the floor to questions. I think that is actually it on the agenda. Yeah.
Oh, it's still morning. Good morning, everybody. My portfolio is more on a membership drive. And as we go about this, I think most people think this is an easy task to do, but it gets more and more unlikely, so to say. But what I want to bring to your attention, to everybody, because what we did, we invited the big group, the filmmakers group, for them to join us and see what we're doing, and then maybe that will inspire them to also join the fan members. But from what I've noticed is it's more of a thing where, let's call a spade a spade. It's more of a thing of people have more to criticize, but then when they get invited, they feel probably offended to bring themselves to front to show why they're criticizing, so we can be able to show them the other side of the coin. And this was one of the platforms for them to really see. Luckily, we have the streaming line where they can also probably heard what people have been doing all along. It's not a thing where people can just sit and stay quiet. People have been busy. People have tried their utmost best what to do or what to bring to the table for everybody who's in the industry. And currently, I will speak since last year. Last year was, I think, that light is in my eye. Last year, we had a drive. No, we had members starting joining up, I think, 25 May. Most of our people are going, their 10 years ending for those who did join the membership. And I will dearly encourage each and every one to sign up, even the new members, to do so, because it is for all of us. At the end of the day, people look at the industry and then they want to ask, but is it only for 60 people that we have to carve out so much money? There was the 50, I think that might also be one of the reasons why from the 50 million that was allocated to us, honestly speaking, is it the 50 that we are getting, or is it now split up amongst everybody? Well, it doesn't really make sense. All come up in one group, and all come up in one group, and because that little amount of money is not going into vain. It goes into whoever we need to go see. We use that money for everybody to benefit from that. Like Ina said previously, he mentioned that people have to go places, people have to see people. It all needs money. So the little that we are asking from you people is just a mere 300 per year. So I hope the little that I also mentioned here has a bigger impact on all of us, if we can all just sign up to this. I think that's...
Yeah, so that's actually the other thing that I want to also find. Sorry, let me speak through the mic. So first of all, are there any non-members here? Awesome. That's welcome. We appreciate you being here. But also, secondly, if I have to echo Angelo's words, I mean, imagine you're stepping into an office, right, and you're saying, "We are from the Filmmakers Association. We are FAN." Oh, okay. So how many members do you represent? How many industry members do you represent? And you say 65. It's almost like a joke, you know what I mean? So it becomes a bit difficult to fight the battle because we're only speaking then on behalf of 65 people. That means that we're not actually industry representatives. We're actually lying on paper when we're saying that we are the body that represents the industry. So apart from us imploring people to join, I would humbly like to also ask the current members to also spread the word for us and be the voices on behalf of FAN, you know what I mean? And I'm hoping that the feedback and the reporting that we've done today kind of gives you that reassurance, you know, that we are trying, we're trying to create some kind of like an impact within the industry, and I hope that gives you also the confidence to then spread on the word in terms of joining. But also I think that we also need to renew the membership. at this point. So I'm hoping that everybody who is a member, who is a PEDAP member, is still going to continue with us. So that's also kind of pending as of now. So if officially the new year starts today, because this is now when we have done basically the reporting. So everybody would have to start paying the $300, and anybody can join at any point. Honestly, there's no cut-off time. There's no real pressure. And even if you sort of like say, listen, keep me on your list. I'm coming, or I've got a few people that are coming. Would appreciate that. Also, the other point that we need to also mention is that obviously our tenure has come to an end. And I think we need your guidance as well as how to proceed with this, because we're not even so sure if you guys are happy with us, if you guys want us here. But we did ask for another 2 years. And obviously also make it part of the Constitution Amendment. So I'm not so sure as to how to go about the voting. I think maybe we can just ask the question to say, are we happy with the current board, or... Questions first, before we do that. Okay, awesome. Mr. Tim, I think there's a mic here. Yes, Mr. Vixen, oh my gosh. Forgive me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I will really just be very quick because my portfolio is outreach and partnerships. That's what I do. And also, unfortunately, and that's why I don't have much to present, the plans are there. We had ideas and that are shared with the board on how to go about and strengthen the outreach. And basically what that means is to identify training opportunities out there, any co-production activities out there, markets where people can get opportunities, and et cetera, et cetera. We have one specific one that I kind of picked up when I attended this training course in Los Angeles. And through that partnership with that institution, they had actually offered to have like a Namibia Film Festival in Los Angeles, in the heart of Hollywood. And they are prepared on their site. However, due to the lack of resources in this site, that couldn't function, it couldn't work. It's also a partnership that we did with the Film Commission. I had reached out, and before our representatives went there, and also the handicap has been the funds that were not around, that we still don't have. So they are waiting out there, and the idea was to have 3 films, maybe more. So 2 will be presented in person in Hollywood and in Los Angeles, and the 3rd one will be on their online platform, including the other 2 also will be online, but the main one will be presented in person. So it means that hopefully the producer and the director will go there to present their films and have a Q&A. And the other one will just be online, where they have like a whole bunch of lot of members. It's one of the big organizations in Los Angeles. It's called Film Independent, and they have like really a lot of alumni and members in the industry. You know, the any name that you can think of, the Denzel Washingtons and all the filmmakers. It's quite there. So I was hoping that this also will materialize, but due to all these ones that we mentioned, it couldn't. But we can pick it up again once everything is in order. Also with the NIPDB, we presented there. There is a meeting that we are waiting to happen between Film Commission and then FEN and the NIPDB, and hopefully get that one working. And as I mentioned, also the markets. So, I mean, with a lack of funds to attend any market and all these things, where we are actually, or in my capacity as in that portfolio, I am handicapped a bit in that one. So those are ideas, and then of course I welcome any input or anybody that knows of anything. When it comes to local partnership, as what mentioned, the MultiChoice, the NBC, Film Commission definitely, and any other, I don't know, any funding organization out there that we could, that can help with training, specifically training skills transfer and stuff like that. Yeah. Fleet, my story is 8.
Yeah, the NIPD conversation is, I think it's one that's also ongoing. We're part of, a committee because they have a committee for policy and governance. And there's another subcommittee for, I think, Film City, and then there's another committee for the fund, and then there's another one for skills and capacity building. So FAN has been invited to be part of all of these, subcommittees. So we've spread ourselves amongst various subcommittees. And so we're just there to support and contribute and kind of like just advise on how they can go about making certain decisions. And some decisions go as far as cabinet, and so I think it's still a process. But we're trying to sort of like understand in terms of how will these decisions that are made, or or our contributions that are being given to NIPDB, how will they, in cohesion with NFC and the Ministry of Arts, sort of like impact the industry fully? So I think that's a conversation maybe that also Orbit might be able to to guide us and sort of like give us a better sort of maybe overview. I don't know if you have a better understanding of it more than I do, because we are just there to essentially just guide. But I think it is an important conversation because they are a body that is also responsible for getting outside investments for the industry, for various industries, not just the film industry. But obviously, if now they are going to get or ask for investments from outside, they need to know what is that investment going to be for. So that's one of the reasons why we are there to give our inputs and guidance. So with that said, is there or are there questions? Tim had the first hand up. And please, if I can just have the board on the stage once again so that, if there's a question directed to any of us, we will be central.
Hello. Firstly, thank you very much for all your presentations. They were quite extensive. And I think that's, mine aren't actually questions, it's just 3 recommendations. So the first one, let me get to that, that's the AGM format. I think this is just a suggestion. I think you should send all your reports in advance. Then we go through them and then we can ask questions on them, because we kind of now sat for almost 90 minutes here and listened, and it's on a Saturday, it's very dreary. So if we can have the information before, then we can come prepared, we can ask specific questions. I think it's in everybody's interest, it's just a suggestion.
Okay.
Then the second thing is, for Angelo or for everybody, we had a conversation a couple of years ago, which was like, maybe fan membership needs to be mandatory if you want to make films in Namibia. That's the only way how you're ever gonna get the membership up. As long as it's voluntary, it's voluntary. And everybody can choose whether to not or whatever. That obviously is a long process, it's gonna take lobbying, you have government that needs to be on your side and say, okay, you guys are like the NTB or whatever, you have to have like some kind of membership card in order to make films here. Then you will speak for 300 people.
Yeah.
Or upwards. But as long as it's voluntary, it's not going to change.
Yeah. Right. I
Right.
think that will also help us with our database as well.
Yeah.
And the formalization of the industry. So
It's volatile, right? People are not going to like that they have to. But hey, I mean, and also mad props to you to register with BIPA. I think that's really the right direction to professionalize FAN. And then I think the last one is just on the voting. Maybe it needs to be explored to be done like last year, where everything happened online, because for you to ever get all members into a room or even have a quorum is the same challenge. And obviously you guys managed to become a board, and you were accepted by the members. So maybe we need to return to that. Even, I don't know if it works with the constitution, but at least it could be the first matter of business is like, do you want us to renew our term? And then if there's a majority that says yes, well then you have your answer. Those are my 3 points.
Thank you for that. Panache? I'm sorry. Is the sound on? Was the sound on when Tim spoke? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, yeah, good morning, everyone. From my side, I think well done for the good year so far. I think it's evident that a lot of work has actually gone into it. A lot of us don't see the work but it's evident. Just got 5 items here. My suggestion is, I think, as we're going to 2025, 26, I think it might be good to actually have an activity plan, and obviously a more detailed, or at least a strategy that's sort of communicated to the members, just so that everybody knows where the plans are and obviously can give inputs into those. Number 2, I think it's on the NFC updates. I think there's a lot that Esther covered. I think it'll be good to see if we can get more frequent updates, because it was a lot of info. And I think on some of the stuff that you mentioned, I think there's areas where members can actually even assist. And if we know what that work is, we can actually volunteer to assist. I think there was a comment around data, and I know data has always been a challenge, and I do think through NFC there's an opportunity to actually manage that, right? So people get funding from NFC, and I think that should be the entry point. You know, for you to get funding, you must be registered, and then all that information that's required, let it be the collection point, because there's no other place to collect it. So if I want to participate in a call for funding, it should be at the point where I'm asking for money, and then you can get as much information as possible, and you can maintain a database by doing that. I think my bigger concern is more on the finance side. I think it's unsustainable, right? With 65 members at $300 each is $20,000. We've burnt 170,000 in 1 year. 200,000 in 1 year. I mean, what's the plan, right? And I think that's something that one has to seriously think about, because if I just look at the list of items, you can't even do just one item. Everything was like 20,000. If I look at just the support that like ELO gives, I mean, then there goes all the memberships. So this.
We do have FAN, not FAN. Sorry, Madge, I can't see him. NFC commits, how much is it? They change, I don't know how much it's going to change to now, but they commit like 150. It's part of their mandate to give us that every year. But again, like, then you can't do anything else. You can just run stuff, but you can't, operations, you can't do anything else. We can't do position paper, all that stuff. They've been changing. Okay, sorry. There she says it's not. She can answer for us. She says it's not final. But what they had been doing the previous years is they had the amount. I think it was like 150, and that was like guaranteed every year they were going to give 150 towards FAN. Then we approached again and said, "All right, we are here." They said, "March, we will give you something." Then we heard, "Yeah, we don't know." And sorry.
Sorry for interrupting your point, Panache. And I don't know, maybe Obed or anyone else in the room, you guys can help me as well, because I also just reviewing, for example, the MOU that the NFC and FAN has. It seems kind of a little bit vague in that sense in terms of what the NFC should be doing and what is really our responsibility. Some of the pushback that I received, like within our deliberations at board level, is why is the NFC funding the operations of an association? Yeah, maybe you can speak on that and just give because yes, we have an industry support vote, but how that needs to be shared is not necessarily there's no existing policy or anything around that. So it's a fight. Is what I'm saying, and every time I try to speak up, I get kind of shut down because it's like, oh, it's because you're a FAN member that you're fighting for this money. So again, any help in that area would be good.
Yeah, so I think from my point of view, I think it's more just around an alternative outside of government, right? Because if government doesn't, for whatever, because they're not obliged to give it, right? So if they don't give it, everything dies. And I think if we're talking about building an industry, I think we need to maybe have a few more resilient alternative solutions as well. Otherwise, I think all of this sort of is in vain. My suggestion would be maybe to look at some corporate membership options. Then you have actual sort of filmmaking organizations, sort of production houses that can contribute a little bit more, and then figure out what does the value proposition look like for them. Because it's easier to get 10,000 from one organization than to try and get 50 people to give you $300, So maybe it's try and figure out what does a value proposition look like for organizations that are in this space, and what, what's their value. And then just the last sort of 2 points. I think everyone's sort of done a lot of work. And I know I serve on a few other sort of similar associations, Section 21s, etc. In a lot of those, you have subcommittees. So under each portfolio, you have the person that heads the sort of section, but they normally have like a subcommittee of volunteers that assist, so that when the work does get a lot, you do have people that are passionate about the industry, that want to see it grow, that are willing to put in time. So maybe it's something worth looking at to say, how do you supplement each individual person's efforts with subcommittees from members that are willing to give some resources, maybe not money, but we can give people with capacity to actually assist you with some of those portfolios. And yeah, well done for everything else.
Okay, I think Obed wanted to just comment on Esther's question.
So, Vixen and I were on the board when the MOU was signed. And there are two distinctions that we need to underline. The first one is this MOU was signed by the minister, for the reason being that FAN is the only government-recognized organization to represent filmmakers. And the policies that was developed under that particular MOU was to grant the film commission, the FAN 150,000 in 2015. So 10 years later, you can't be talking about 150,000. So I think what we need to do is we need to understand, we need to shift our minds, right? To understand what is actually the NFC and how was the NFC established. We need to go back into the history of how FAN was established, how the NFC was established, and come to the conclusion that the money at the NFC is for the industry. It's not for the NFC. That's the reason why the money goes under the Film and Development Fund. The commissioners are custodians. They're the fiduciary representatives, on the board. But the Film Commission, the staff members, are seconded to the NFC. So they're not being paid out of the NFC. This money belongs to the industry, not the other way around. Okay?
May I add
Yes.
something on the registration membership thing?
Sure.
What you suggested, basically, making funding a requirement to be a fan member. We had suggested that several times. There was an argument, I can't remember, I think Vixen would have also been the Orbit and so on. Why, out of fairness, that couldn't be, so to say, the restriction in a way from the government side to give state funds to the association would have been not possible, compromise, whatever. The other element which I support you is with the funding. I always had a problem with NFC being the sole funder and actually a funder to the non-governmental body who depends on governmental funds, and it is the independence which is obviously not existing. We actually like the NFC is a continuation of the division. We are so to say a continuation of that continuation. So I agree with you. That is a very concerning element.
Yes, Titch, please. Thank you for that.
Morning, everyone. First thing I just wanted to ask was, when we first started a year ago, there were presentations from every member on what each of you would be doing in your respective portfolios. Each of you had an agenda that you presented. And essentially, today I was hoping to hear from each and every one of you a report based on what you promised you would be doing. There's been a general reference to things that have been happening with the report, with some of the funding, a bit of this, a bit of that, but there hasn't been specific accountability on the specific things that each of you said you'd be doing in your various portfolios. So that's been a big disconnect for me. So it all sounds fair and good, but no one's actually saying what they did. Conversation starters within the group, I found that there hasn't been too much put forward. I think as much as we want communication from the group, we haven't seen as much communication from the board. We've seen the occasional photo about we're at this meeting, or someone shares an article about something that's going on and all. But I think even if it's just a one-pager monthly circular to say this is what's happening, this is where we are, this is what we're planning to do, and then this is what happened last month. Just some level of communication, and then we have something to talk about. Yeah, I was concerned about the financial plan. I think Panashe really asked questions in that regard. Yeah, just a thought on the funding. I think with all that FAN is doing right now, we are sort of creating a case to get some level of state funding, because as much as they are FAN members, even people who aren't part of FAN are beneficiaries of everything that you're doing on behalf of the industry. So I think it's justified somewhat in that we can build a case to get more funds in that regard. I think the question regarding the 10-year renewals, I don't think is something we would really have to have right now. I don't know, is there a limit to a re-election or serving again? After 12 months, are you prohibited from serving beyond that? So I think what's fair to say is that if someone is performing well in their role, they will inevitably get re-elected. And so at this point, as much as we would ask for more time, like for me, particularly in light of the things that were presented versus the lack of reporting on what each person did in their respective portfolio, I can't objectively say, yes, everyone deserves to stay in their particular role doing what they're doing. So I don't think there is pressure to say, let's extend these terms. I think an annual review is actually helpful and can help to hold people accountable. I was concerned regarding delegation, something that was mentioned by Panashe again with subcommittees and all. Based again on what was initially presented last year in May, and what each person was going to be responsible for in terms of their portfolio, I haven't heard of much activity from concerning FAN from any other person within FAN aside from the board. maybe one or two people getting involved in this or that. We see Madge here with supporting with the live streaming, we've heard with Panashe and some of the reportings and all, but there hasn't really been any or much involvement from a lot of the members. From what I can see, there hasn't been a lot of invitation to engage regarding various things. So it seems more like there's been opportunities to participate, like in Gatekeeper, something where you go sit and attend, or you get invited to a meeting to attend or to watch this and then vote. But yeah, not too much beyond that. And I think there needs to be a clear outline on how re-election would happen for members, as well as how other people who may be interested in serving can present their portfolios as well, and what platform will do that, so that we have an idea of what our options actually are, and then we can make decisions from there. So to actually talk about a re-election or election of new members today is, I think, not something that would be able to do in this sitting, and that maybe the board can create a plan for that so that we can see a way forward there. I don't know if there's any responses to anything.
I wanted to address there was something you said that I think was inaccurate. Something regarding where people like put the portfolio out and were saying this is what you said? Yeah, there was no such thing. There were people who chose to do that in the group, but there was nothing of that sort. If I remember correctly, it was people saying, as we're going through this voting process, we're going to put something out, and then, can't we just make, put the CV or something? But it wasn't like a promise thing or something of that sort. So that's the first.
If I can clarify, maybe it wasn't a promise, but it was clarification of roles, where you guys were saying, okay, I will be responsible for this and that, or I will be doing this and that and that.
Okay, but
whatever it may have been, is to expect a response or, some level of accountability. I think I even specified here to say that structurally, when we do any meetings, ideally, the agenda is made clear. We have minutes from the previous meeting, and then the issues raised in the previous meeting, whatever was done to address that and all that, some level of communication. I don't know if someone's taking minutes from today, and if we're going to see minutes then, and then if we're going to get reports on those minutes in the next meeting and stuff. We mentioned other things, the website or the film watching club thing that was being started, or what's happening with all this and that. A lot of things get picked up and dropped, and again, it's just responses based on people's portfolios and what we say people are responsible for, to say this is, like, I think your report in terms of finances was fairly clear. We have an idea on that, but on many of the other portfolios, not entirely sure, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I just wanted to say, because I remember when that thing happened, I was like, wait, I never did this. So I was just trying to, I don't remember writing something of the sort. But the other thing I was going to address is, I think it's two things are being, it sounds like one thing, but it's two different things. There is the extension of the term of someone serving. That's something that wanted to be addressed. And the re-election is something else entirely. So I think there was a request to, I think even Tim, we spoke about it at some point, to extend the term of a member of the board from 1 year to 2, and it's something that Mayor Florence had spoken about. So that's a separate thing from a re-election thing. So it was something that needed to be checked, whether we were fine with adjusting the constitution for that purpose, and then the re-election is something else entirely, so, to my understanding.
The opinion was just to say we might not need to discuss tenure extensions right now when there is a way of someone just continuing their tenure through re-election. Like, is it critical to extend tenures at this state? Do we want
It doesn't have to be now.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, for the Constitution, it's something that every board has experienced, that, like, wait, in 1 year you can't do anything. Sometimes you have plans, and then the process of onboarding a new board is ridiculous. Like us just getting up to speed was like a nightmare. It took like a few months, I think, before we understood what we needed to do. So the idea is that even if it's not us here, because I don't even know if I plan on serving again, but even if it's not us here, whoever comes on, there's like your term is expected to be longer than 1 year. That's what they're talking about in terms of the constitution.
The other argument, the NSC terms is 3 years.
Yeah.
To match them.
Yeah, please. Can I go? Yeah. Yeah. No, I also listening to the brother, I sort of wanted to know maybe him to mention specifics that were not really complied to. It is, with all due respect, you are referring to that, but you're also being a bit vague. Yeah, to say, for example, you said you will do this, and I think, like Ina pointed out, it was a campaign portfolio, like to say, look, this is what I can do, this is the skills. And when we got on board, we did not even, there was nothing like a portfolios at that stage. The portfolio is something that we thought of, or we came to think of afterwards, and to say, okay, maybe this will go and this and that. And I think it is, for me, it was very clear on what the plans was or the thoughts were, and the challenges, like the finances that were not available or still not available, and the structure of the government and the new elections and et cetera, et cetera. And up to the point, we are in the 6 months into the year. And even the national budget is not signed off and all these things. So those are challenges. And I think also it's not a thing of we took a decision to say, oh, guys, let's go out there. It is not as comfortable as anybody may think. I served on this board. This is the second time that I'm serving on FAN. And it's a whole lot of sacrifice. I think he alluded to that when he said, especially in the beginning, we had to use our own money. And also when we go into the history, maybe we should ask ourselves why the other boards, by the time 1 year is complete, there's only 2 people left. You know, everybody else has quit. So it's not rose and it's not really roses. And maybe there will also be people on the board who will say, look, if an opportunity comes for somebody else to take over, I think I may gladly give it over. And I think this is all just based on proposals. We wait for the members to guide us. It's not something that we are enforcing on the organization. There was a feeling, like it was explained, that the NFC is 3 years. Now for that continuity, you are in there, you serve probably 3 months of productivity, and then somebody else comes in. And that becomes a repetitive thing that you are just about to grasp what is going on, and then your term is over. So that's why that discussion of extending the board terms to be 3 years is premised on that thing that at least people can settle into the board, and the NFC. So because then what becomes of, she is accountable to us now, there are 2 reps. What happens when we are off and new people come in? Will you easily be able to handle that? Talking from experience or from all those years, I think this becomes maybe an alternative to consider. It's just not specifically for us. What we are saying is that maybe going forward now, the board terms must be 3 years, which I can only pray that it will be fruitful. Because, as I explained, the other board terms of 1 year did not, by the time it is 3 months, 4 months in there are 3 people left. And that's basically just what I wanted to say.
But can I just defend Tish a bit? Sure. Okay, so the reason why the Constitution was, decided on by the FEN members in 2016, when we went to register at the Ministry of Trade, was that there was no alignment between FAN board and the NSC board. And the reason for that was, let's make the fan board 1 year so that they can hold the people at the NFC accountable all the time. Because what was happening is, NFC you get 3 years, 4 years, but at the fan board level, because there was nothing happening, there was no accountability. And what also happened is, it also forced the previous boards to always report back to the membership. Before the NFC comes up with a budget, it was always discussed at the fan board. So that's the reason why the 1 year was in place, until such a time that the organization is mature enough for us to have mechanisms in place. So it was more of an alignment situation rather than a restrictive situation. So that's the part that I wanted to defend.
Sorry, and I just wanted to say, part of what inhibits me from being specific, I'll mention when the new board was initially presented, there was a slide, mostly Shuna took us through the slide, but she was making reference to the specific tasks and saying that who and who would be running with this, who and who would be running with that. And it's just accountability on those basic tasks is what I'm saying. And again, accountability for what we would have discussed in previous meetings, just going over those things. Say that we've had this going on. I think the most accountability and the best accountability we had was regarding the report, the paper. That was well done. Although I only found out today that the quotes generally started from 1 million plus, therefore this is why we decided, and then we had this guy do this and that and that and that. That type of stuff wasn't shared earlier, but we did have a clarity on the report itself, which was satisfactory. It would be, again, good to just have an idea of this is where we started and this is what we envisioned and this is how we've done with what we envisioned as a collective. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tish. I think the points that you mentioned, they're definitely very valid. I just have to say from the board side, we definitely could have done better in terms of proactive communication with the membership. But notwithstanding, in terms of the processes and the things that we tackled throughout the year, we've always tried to keep the dialogue open with the membership. Even at times, to my frustration, that the rest of the board members would first want to hear from the members whether we should X or whether we should Y. Which I think was quite reasonable. So if you had followed the WhatsApp group and the things that we posted on that throughout the year, we would have had a sense of what we were busy with. You do mention the position paper. There we called out people to please participate, to please give their inputs as part of the task force. We invited members to be part of these task forces. There's continuous consultation also with industry members and players, not only through the fan board or through FAN itself, but in their own right as industry contributors. I often run into Obed, whether it's Swakopmund or NIPDB offices here in Windhoek, or Banana Shukupe would show up there. So these people are involved besides or beyond what we as board are trying to do. So I would encourage every member also to be more involved in that sense, to be also more proactive in terms of your participation in the discourse. What's very important to note for the board as such in terms of our deliberations, it did come out through just about everybody's utterances thus far, is that especially in this year, it's been a challenge to get the organizational structure right. You will notice that in my report, that's possibly the first thing that I mentioned, that we as a board managed to get right, is we got the board part or the organizational part of FAN back up and running as well. So I think there we've kind of done well. Then we went to specific objectives, which was, I don't know if it was around the same time, but Our first overall overarching objective for the year was to influence the narrative. I used to call it dictate the narrative, or that's the, what's it, tagline that I created for it. And in terms of that, everything that I mentioned in the report, as a collective, as a board, is represented there. It's quite apparent. What the membership will also be privy to after this meeting is obviously the soft copy of the report itself, everything that I said today. But accompanied with that, every other document that we have created over the year. These things were shared with you already in different processes and in different stages of completing these processes. Something like the NCCP, or for instance, NIPDB involvement, or talking around tax incentives and the legislative framework for the industry. Those conversations are ongoing, not only with US members, but also with the stakeholders in that regard. But as I said, these documents will be shared on the group once again as part of our comprehensive report. Excuse me. As part of our comprehensive report, and hopefully it will satisfy some of the questions there. The second one that I want to move to, which was also mentioned very astutely and very smart from our membership, is the financial planning, and also in terms of our year plan. Now, what Ina, for instance, didn't mention there, our Honorable Treasurer didn't mention there, as part of our submission to the NFC, we created a program, or basically a year plan, in which we break up what we intend to do with the money for the year. A realistic budget for FAN's operations and trying to get to all the things that we intend to get to would probably be in the range of something like 600,000, realistically speaking. Let me just give you an idea of some of the expenditures which would never be reflected in the measly 100 or 200,000 that we kind of get every year, or that we're hoping to get at least. If you just think of participation in film festivals and markets, to have an influence, or to have a Filmmakers Association presence at these events, just for one person to attend will be in excess of 50,000 at any of these events. You don't want to send one person, you want to send a small delegation, 1, 2, 3 people, including board members and fan members to such. So for that alone, we'd probably have to budget upwards of 200,000. So the way that I broke it up for us, I've got the budget before me now. You will see it as I said, it will be shared with you. So the NFC grant of about 250,000, that would be about just over a third of what we need from the year. Membership fees is a very small contribution, and then we will actively have to pursue almost 300 to 500,000 or 400,000 in grants or sponsorships. Some of these sponsorships can be in kind, like for instance for our regionalization program, we need to travel. The last time that we went to Swakop, I'll honestly tell you now, my brother was graciously enough to accommodate me in his kaya in Matatura. So every morning I had to shower in cold water just to go and attend the NDP 6 validation that day, because unfortunately FAN couldn't do that. But to be realistic about these things, guys, we need much more than we're asking from the NFC right now. But I think there's strategies. Ina mentioned that we are starting to look at those avenues, like getting funding from the UN, also some of our other partners. We are starting to engage to get more operational funding for the organization as such. So yes, we are looking, we are trying to address those concerns, and membership input is most welcome, once again, in that regard. Yeah, I think I covered most of what I wanted to say. Excuse me, guys. There's just, if you will allow me, I think some of the other members might want to say something still, but if you would allow me, I'd like to get a few of our regional members online as well. I think Skylight mentioned here he wanted to say something, but there's a few other people that are tapping in online, so I'll just go and set that one up as well. Because FAN is actually much bigger than the bunch of us here in Windhoek or in Swakop.
In terms of now also accountability, so we do agree with you, Tish. I mean, there can be better communication, there can be better reporting and feedbacking from our side, and also just from the board side as well. I think this is a conversation as well that we are exploring, is to have KPIs, you know, as the board as well, to say, listen, you know, per portfolio there should be certain KPIs that we have to hold ourselves accountable, and, you know, KPIs that can also be shared with you so that you know what we're working towards. So I think that it's a new ship that we're sailing. We're still finding our rhythm. We're still finding our momentum. We've just picked up momentum, you know, hence why we're saying that the 1 year tenure honestly is not enough, because, you know, obviously within that 1 year you'll make mistakes, you know, like not communicating or not giving enough reporting, for example, and those things need to be, you know, changed and tweaked here and there. So that's why I'm saying that. So even if we don't engage, or if you feel that we have not given you feedback on something that, you know, you specifically were looking forward to, you know, you hit us up, you know, ask us questions, you know, how far with this, how far with that, and let's not wait until we have an SGM or an AGM, you know, for those questions to come, and that will also allow us to better prepare ourselves as well. Yeah, Judy, do you want to add?
Yeah, just specifically on my portfolio, I, as a programs director for FAN, because I didn't actually get a chance to present on that, but specifically the program that I've been leading was, again, the Meet the Gatekeepers initiative, and I can say that we had a few successful ones, and the idea with that, and why I would term it as successful, was just the idea that we were able to create engagement amongst the members. So we had members talking to each other. We've got industry professionals coming and sharing. And the idea with that is saying, how can we make sure that whoever is a member of FAN has raised, one, the professionalism, and we are walking and living up to that industry standard. And I think it had been successful. In terms of the pitfalls, or where it didn't work out, was the consistency, at least on my part. I think it got a bit overwhelming on my side to just keep it up. And like Panashe mentioned, doing a committee would have probably really helped take the load off a little bit. And yeah, I'm hoping that if we do get re-elected, or we're going into the next year, 2 years, that with the committee and with the support of that, we can actually do more of this and do better, and maybe even get international people to speak. And before I pass on the mic, I just wanted to also inquire again from previous NFC board members. One of the things that keeps coming up is the idea of the conflict of interest when it comes to me voting on decisions regarding FAN within the NFC board, and vice versa with, you know, engaging in discussions within the FAN board. How is this handled? How has this been handled in the past? One of the recommendations was that I step down as a FAN board member and only be an ordinary member, or sit in on the board without any voting powers. So those were some of the recommendations that came up, because I often find myself in these kind of challenges when it comes to discussion. So I think that's just something that I wanted to also present or have questions about.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna answer that question and then just make my comment, okay? Because I have to leave soon. There is no conflict of interest. The only thing that you need to be aware of is when to excuse yourself, because there is interest in your personal capacity. Okay, so you're not allowed to lobby for your own projects, let's say at the Film Commission. But should there be, you know, a conflict of interest, you need to voice that before the meeting starts. And you don't have to resign from the FAN board, but what needs to happen is you need to tell the FAN board what's happening, okay? You don't have to tell the membership what's happening, because that is above us, okay? So you are representing us at the NFC board, and you're reporting back to the FAN board, and then you guys decide how that communication is being channeled and how that is packaged for us via a newsletter, or, you know, meetings or mixers. And obviously they'll give you opportunities as well at mixers to represent, just like you did now. So there is no real conflict of interest, because There's nothing we can do about you being a filmmaker. There's nothing we can do about you being a FEN member, a FEN board member, and an NFC chair. Okay? Hope that is clear. I just want to commend you guys on what you guys did for the past year. I specifically know how hard it is to do, particularly because you're not being paid to do this. Okay, you're doing this because you love the industry, and you want to move this industry to better heights. What I've learned through the good and the bad, I mean, Dixon can tell you, Christian Monkey is here, and Cecil is here. When we fought, we were close to punches. And even when our boards were like 2 years, it looked like we were one family. But just contentious, right? It was very contentious. And what I've realized is that when you bring in people early on, it makes things much easier. Okay, there's nothing under the sun that is new. So whatever you guys are going to present, others have presented before. It's a question of, are you guys going to be dancing around the fire and cooking nothing? Or are you going to be achieving any results, which is basically what Tish is alluding to. Okay? There are certain things that I think you guys have done that I don't think should be programs, there should be policies. Because the money from government is national, by virtue is regional anyways. It's how you distribute the money that goes into a policy. And when we do those mistakes, what happens is you start to penalize veterans in lieu of newcomers. And in the absence of skills transfer, the industry dies. And then literally when we have a veteran die in the industry, we don't have anything to do and can contribute, we can only contribute 4,100. So my thing is, let's understand where we're coming from so we know where we're going. And this is our last chance. And I mean it. The first time, and I'm talking about when somebody from high up was saying, let's do something for the creative industry in post-independence Namibia. First time was where others wavered. Second time was Endemol, NBC. There was an Endemol program, 20 million was earmarked for television series, television programs through Endemol, the Belgium company. It failed after 6 months, right? Then there was Ties That Bind. And this is the fourth time. I know you guys are going to be overwhelmed, and the promises or adjustments or portfolio descriptions that you had earlier on, I'm sure you realize when we started talking to NIPDB and the ministry, the conversation started going slightly in a different direction. Okay? And that's also part of the plan, which is to distract us. So enter 2025, we are now in June, and we're not ready. There's 100 million sitting at the Ministry of Finance. They can't distribute it because we're not ready. And one of the reasons is, who knows what Marge needs for his business, even though we are all here representing his business. We're talking about the audiovisual business, audiovisual sector. So we're talking about something that is outside of our membership, instead of talking about what do we need. Okay? How are we enabling Tish to expand this business? Because when he goes out there, he's by himself to promote his business. And talking about traveling to film festivals, film markets, etc., etc. In the previous board, in the FN board, we established a connection with the Ministry of Trade. I don't know where the Ministry of Trade is now, probably at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's a fund called Marketing, where filmmakers and members of FN can actually travel to a film festival, a film market. They don't pay that much. What they will do is they will say, get us 3 quotations for flights, accommodation we can only give you this much, and for pocket money we can only give you this much. So I applaud that Esther is reaching out to say, hey, the alumni, like the Cecil was our first, Freddie Philander was our first FEM member who was sitting on the NFC board. And then Cecil came, and then Vixen, and then I joined afterwards. So when I joined, I had to go to all of them. And our late Freddie used to shout at me with every decision that we were making, but it's part of the listening process. And I think going forward, if you guys put more effort into trying to figure out what are these members requiring and what do they need, then this can be solved, right? My last point. When you want to change an industry, especially with what the president is talking about, it will take you 10 years. It will take us 10 years to do that. And Panashe can talk about this because he knows how the National Planning Commission works. So as from end of this year, we have 2.5 years to implement any programs to make sure that the money is flowing before the next election. And next election, the agenda might change. So how we do it is we could potentially put together a workshop where the industry comes together and then we say, what is our 10-year plan? Okay? Invite everybody that needs to be invited. It doesn't have to be in Windhoek. And we plan what the industry will look like in 10 years. And we can also invite people who are not FEN members, et cetera, so that we can also convince them on how this industry will look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And whoever takes over the FED board in 3 years, 4 years, they know exactly that this is where we're going. That is what's missing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. There's also somebody in the back who was before you, Panashe, sorry. Yellow, if you can assist with the mic, thank you.
Hey, hello. I'm Grant Bauman, Namibian by birth, filmmaker in South Africa, work everywhere. I also came through this man's hand, Cecil here. As a person who's on the outside and constantly looking in, and wanting to come back home and wanting to give back as well, there's 2 questions that I have for FAN as membership, but also to you guys as the board. It says here on the group, right? I'm here on a Facebook group, by the way, that FAN is about the growth and development of the Namibian industry. Having worked all over the world and having also helped with developing youngsters, not just in this capacity, from a business perspective or the business side of film, I realized as I was traveling around and working with these people in New Zealand, in the Far East, in Europe, in places like Guatemala, that where we need to spend our time and our focus is developing the next generation. That's how you develop a film industry. I'm not criticizing, I'm merely adding to this, that while we are busy looking at the business end of things, what we're not looking at all is the development. The idea of gatekeeping and all that, we need to get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's just not going to help an industry grow. I applaud you guys for what you are doing. Things like going to film festivals and stuff like that. What are we really doing at those film festivals to grow the industry? We're just looking at connecting with markets there. But our industry, the seed isn't watered here at all. So what are you actually selling there? What are you actually selling there? So for me, we need to really start looking here at home, and not just at NUST or your film academies or whatever. There's amazing, amazing stories that can be told and amazing people that can be grown if you just look at the grassroots levels as well. Thank you.
Should we take 2 questions? Okay, all right. Just a quick comment.
Sorry, can you remind me of your name again? Grant, are you currently mentoring anybody? How many Namibian filmmakers? Okay. Okay, awesome. With regards to Meet the Gatekeepers, just for clarity, it's an ironic name, right? Because people keep saying that there's gatekeepers, you know, people are holding our money, and the idea of the talks is to kind of erase these gates and borders and fences and say, here are the people that maybe you would consider a gatekeeper. Ask them whatever you need to know. Let's share the informations, the secrets. Let's make sure that other people aren't struggling the same way that we did when we're coming up in the industry, just for clarity over there. But yes, thank you so much for your comments around developing the industry. I think there's actually, I know you're still new and kind of getting back into it, but there's actually quite a lot of there are quite a lot of programs right now that's coming up. Like I mentioned, there's the NUST Accelerate, there's a NUST program. We've got the NBC Drama School. We've got Kota. We've got bursary programs where we're sending students to South Africa through the NFC. But then we also have filmmakers that are taking the initiative to apply to these international programs to get training. That's how I got a lot of my training. It wasn't through us looking at the industry like, help me. It was like, oh, okay, I have access to the internet. I'm going to apply to a workshop in Egypt, and I'm going to apply to the, Durban Talents and all of that. I know that this year we even have a Namibian representative within the Durban Talents once again. So I think that there are, I would really beg to differ, that there are actually a lot of development programs going on. There's workshops, and there's quite a lot that is happening at the moment. So I'm just a little bit concerned about, or I'm just trying to understand where this is specifically coming from, because as much as we can develop people, another thing we find is that I know even with the NFC, I don't know, out of the many bursaries that they've given out, I don't know how many of those people are still in the industry to this day. You can train people for a year and hope that they stick around, but a lot of people, this industry is not for the faint-hearted. If you, after you've been trained and yay, I've got the skills, now the hustle begins, and that's the part that where we lose a lot of people from the industry also, to be fair. So yeah, lack of participation or taking initiative. And again, we all have access to the same internet, looking for opportunities out there. There's grants, there's funding outside of the NFC that exists. Are we really, as Namibians, putting ourselves out there on the global stage, going out there on our own?
Okay,
Yeah.
can I just jump in again? So just to, that everybody has the same, people who don't have that access, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, if we are going to talk about really growing a Namibian industry, and from my own perspective, it's actually easier, because the industry is so small, to join hands and to really open yourselves up to others as well. Because I also see the infighting. And lucky for me is I'm on the outside looking in, right? I'm not always here, so I'm on the outside looking in, so I see the picture from the outside, right? And that's one thing that keeps on popping up for me. Right? Like to say that I had access, right? I could go, I could get on the internet the same as you. I could apply for grants. Not everybody has that access. Not everybody has it. And to say that everybody gets the same chances as me and you that we created, it's just not true. It's just absolutely not true. So what do we do to create that access for those people who don't have it? If we're saying we're growing it, what are we doing?
My concern is like if we, for example, go to Rundu.
Esther, if you just, and Grant, if you guys would just allow me shortly, because it's exactly 1 o'clock now. We've gone over by half an hour. There's at least 2 other agenda points that we need to attend to.
Okay, cool.
So I absolutely love the discourse. Maybe just to give you some sort of comfort, and I think Esther would have added to that. We are actually, we're very development centered as a board in FAN. As an organization. Much of the programs and planning that we're doing is around, firstly, doing grassroots up development, but we also see the need that once these people are developed, they need to step into a viable industry. So we're also looking at that top-down structure, if you please. So our programs do speak to that specifically, developing that. Madge, there's also people joining us. There are also others joining us from outside of Windhoek. I'd just like to give Skylight an opportunity to talk. He's the designated representative for us in I believe, the Kavango East. Skylight, you are live. Hello, Skylight, we can hear you. You can talk. Please make your comments.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Skylight. We can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Skylight. Please don't listen to the online voice. It's delayed. Rather, just listen to us on your phone.
Everyone.
Good day.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a friend representative for Kavango East and West region, and the founder of Skylight Media. Over 3 years, we have created over 45 jobs. I'm hearing a feedback. I don't know whether that's my voice or somebody speaking.
No, you can continue. It's just you speaking.
Oh, you can hear me. All right. Yeah. So I just want to make sure everyone gets me clearly. I have high hopes for them, and I love the initiative that is happening right now. The discussion. It's informative. So I want to say that my goals are to point people to FAN and MSC, the creative industry from the regions that I represent in the Kavango East and West. Yeah, so, but there are things that I've observed over my presence in the film industry, which spent over decades. I think since the founding of FAN and MSC, which were founded in 2000, not only, I'm currently speaking on behalf of Kavango East, Kavango Western State, which I represent. Not a single filmmaker from this team has ever founded.
Skylight.
Now that is a problem.
Skylight.
Kavango is the country's second largest region.
Okay, that's very difficult. Skylight. Skylight. You can cut him. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other final questions from the floor. I think we would want to slowly wrap this up. Yes?
Sorry, hello. Good morning. It's not necessarily a question, maybe it is questions. First of all, I really want to thank all of you. I've been sitting many times there. We've been sitting many times. And what you've been through, I'm very grateful to see the maturity in the board. And what I mean by the maturity is that you got over the fact that you don't have taxi money, but you got to get to the game. And you don't have football boots, but you got to play. That's kind of part of the initiation of being in a Namibian setup, so I appreciate that very much. My biggest concern or challenge or comment might be that sometimes it feels like decisions are made very quickly and stuff, and I understand the climate of today, and wish that one could have participated in at least a discourse of what that decision was. So I would like to maybe just suggest the idea of that we have to look at some point at a FEN summit, that we really have to bring people from the regions into a place where we can physically sit for over a weekend, and maybe we can raise funding through whether it's Ford Foundation or whoever and whatever, that we get a real clear plan for the next 5 years. The idea of what I'm talking about, a clear plan, is that it's so important that if any news organization put a microphone in a FEN member's face and say, what is your concern of the industry, that in every filmmaker in this country, you will hear those 5 things. And that means those are the 5 things that we all are working towards. Achieve them, get 5 new things. Because there's so much coming at us at 370,000 miles an hour. The next thing you're on your way to this meeting, and then somebody said, oh, the minister needs you to, or the whatever needs you to. And the problem about this is unless we have that very clear objective of where we want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, etc., we will always be reactionaries to everybody else out there. And we are missing the point of us dictating the industry course. Not the ministry, not the creative industry, not whatever. Us here as filmmakers, we have to dictate our course. And our course needs to be argued on the positions of government. And that takes lobbying. Lobbying is not just a matter of that NFC had a meeting and FEN had a meeting. That's lobbying. Lobbying means there is a dedicated group from FEN that is going to go sit at every minister's office for the next 2 months and talk and talk and talk until they get what we are saying. Because I'm seeing right now in the situation here, the world is talking about the creative industries, and the film industry's agenda has been side-swapped into something. Now it becomes something else. All of a sudden, we have to create solutions for the creative industries. And we miss the point, why is it that the local film industries are not making films in the ways that we're supposed to make films, and creating job opportunities, etc. I'm so disappointed to see that there was a budget after all these billions and oil monies and everything the whole government and everybody's talking about. There's a budget of 7 million giving to the Film Commission. How disappointing is that, and what does it say? So I mean, maybe, sorry, is it just for operation? I'm talking about funding. I'm talking about the solutions is already in the institutions. The funding document at NFC that's been lying there and gathering dust. It's a brilliant piece of a document that nobody goes to. I've even mentioned it to NIBT meetings, whatever kind of stuff. The solutions is there, and constantly we have to change our agenda based upon whatever the ministers are saying and the ministerial whatever this and that. We need to. I'm just suggesting that maybe we should focus on getting a film summit, get our 5 points straight out and create a committees around there. So we as members also feel that we can really contribute to make your voices stronger out there. And then the last thing else, there's a lot of other things, but the last thing I would suggest, can we not just get a fan Zoom account that we can have little smaller meetings and whatever kind of stuff that, because it's pretty costly to have. Whenever we have a meeting, there's always, that's what I'm saying. Fan Zoom account will probably solve a lot of our issues as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Panache, I know you earlier on you wanted to say something. Is that so?
Yeah, just a comment, just to. So I think Esther asked earlier about a question around conflict, and I was just going to sort of echo Obed's comment that conflict typically is when your interests are not aligned with those of the the organization, right? In this particular case, I think both organizations, both NFC and FAN, have actually want you there for alignment, right? So I think there wouldn't be conflict. As a matter of fact, the requirement is more alignment than conflict, if anything. Otherwise, then it's a miss if you do recuse yourselves from and that alignment from where the industry needs to go, and you can't participate in that because there's a view of conflict, because then we're left with commissioners who are not in the industry telling us where we're going to, if that makes sense. So in my mind, I'd almost say that if anything, between yourself and Ronald, it should be more fan, because I think when you were speaking a lot, it was almost as if there's too much fan in your conversation. I'm saying they should get tired of you saying fan, because I think we're the voice of the industry. So yeah.
Okay, so with that said, I don't want to keep you guys any longer, and also we do have a time limit on the venue, of which we've gone about 40 minutes over. So there are reports that will be shared. I'm not so sure, Baron, did you want to add anything extra before we do the closing? Is there any other agenda point that we've missed? Okay. Yeah, okay. So before you summarize. Okay.
Okay, so as per Constitution, the agenda for the annual general meeting shall contain the following items. 1, presentation and discussion of Chairman's annual report. Consideration and ratification of the annual financial statement. I believe we have done that conclusively and discussed them. Now 3 and 4, I think we'd have to agree is a bit difficult at this stage, which is 3 would be the appointment of the auditors, and 4 the election of the Board of Trustees. So could I just move that the Honourable House defer these 2 matters to, number 1, the online poll in terms of the elections and extending the tenure, and then obviously giving us a chance to then appoint the auditors, as there are financial implications for that. And I do believe that point 5 has also been well dealt with in terms of discussing any other business. So if the board or if the House so agrees, I think we can move forward and conclude.
An agreement?
Yeah. Any objections? None whatsoever. So yeah, from my side as sitting chair, I just want to say thank you very much again, guys. There's also our online community. You see 13 people there. Some of them are our regional representatives. A special shout out to them, to trying to help organize more people to participate from outside of the capital and the centers. Once again, thank you to the board for availing your time and your efforts in getting the show on the road. As I previously mentioned, I will share my annual report plus the documents that I mentioned in this report. I will share it online on the members group for your perusal and consideration. From my side, thank you. Over to the Vice.
Okay. So just one more final reminder, please. As we said, we've started a new year. So membership fees are pending as of today. So please, if you are a student, it's $150. And if you are non-student, it's 300 Namibian dollars. And also please spread the word and encourage people to join. And let's speak a language that speaks or that represents unity. Otherwise, we're missing each other a little bit there. So the more people we represent, the more members we represent, the louder our voice can become. And so yes, so I think we're going to now sit back and see how we're going to do the voting, or at least the extension of the tenure, and we'll communicate that. And I know Yalo has also been taking minutes, so we will also share those minutes once they are ready, and all the other documents that have been shared here today. But thank you again for your input, thank you for your trust in us, and thank you for your guidance. And please keep holding us accountable, keep the conversation going, and we will definitely take you guys up on that offer in terms of having a weekend off where we can workshop and possibly create a strategy that's got your input part of it as well. And we'll communicate that once we've gotten over the votings, etc. So with that said, I'd like to close today's meeting, and thank you once again for attending.